Have you ever felt like you just don't belong to this world? You deleted your social media accounts because you wanted to detox yourself, but mostly because you are currently going through a breakup. You also cut your hair all the way to the bottom by yourself, staring at a bathroom mirror while crying. Maybe your kids or family and friends were shocked. You did it because you believe it's for a fresh start. That isn't entirely false, but the true reason is that you also want a new start in your life. Anyway, back to social media. You need to stalking your ex. You need to see what your partner writes, what your partner likes, or is he or she missing you the same way you do. Somehow you know it's an unhealthy habit, and you delete that account after a night or two out of guilt since you do not see its point afterward. Everyone who goes through a heartbreak has done something like that or something similar. After a while you become satisfied. You write something else sad or negative, clearly because you let that place affect you in that way. Maybe you feel suffocated and weighed down by some kind of invisible force, and you don't really know why, but this force is relentless. No matter what you do, you carry this knotted heaviness inside everywhere you go. Nothing feels right anymore. If you need to turn yourself around, you need to express yourself positively. It makes you feel a whole lot better. In this world, everyone is hurting somebody, consciously or unconsciously. In this world, many people have forgotten to see each other as human beings first. We are always men, women, black or white, Muslim or Christian, or whatever else you are first. People make assumptions about you based on experiences they had with people of the same group as you. We imagine you like that person and hate you because of what they did that. We forget that we are like everyone else, looking for something more, to leave our mark, to survive and thrive. We forget how unique each of us is, that no one is one thing and that one thing does not work for everybody. If you believe in spiritual growth and personal development, you might also consider, what if there are no coincidences? What if this is your time, you were born in the right place of it all? You will see and embrace changes that are happening right now in front of us. You can reach your hand across the world and leave your mark of inspiration on people in faraway lands who you may never see. The choices we are making have such an effect on the future. To change the narrative from me to we and us, remind us that we are all accountable for returning the page to reality. We love and care about one another. And no matter how much we profess differently, we know it isn't true. Other people have an impact on us, and we live in a physically, emotionally, and mentally connected environment. Although the world is full of suffering, it's also full of overcoming of it. You look at your life and see how it doesn't feel like it's yours. You desperately want to go away. You urgently want to do anything. But you're frightened of damaging all you've worked so hard to create. You just don't seem to be able to move. You're paralyzed. We will all feel stuck at some time in our lives. Whether it be in our work, home, neighborhood, financial situation, religion, family, or relationship. Usually, feeling stuck is quickly addressed by doing something new. However, it is not always that simple. When feeling stuck becomes a recurring issue, one that makes you feel hopeless, it's time to take a critical look at your life. According to psychological research, persons who suffer from anxiety and depression frequently feel confined and defeated. In other words, feeling trapped can lead to anxiety and sadness, which compounds the confined sensation. And so the cycle goes on. However, why do we feel confined in the first place? Anxiety and sadness may precipitate and be a result of this experience. But what causes the anxiety and depression? Passivity is frequently a learned characteristic taught to us as children by our parents, teachers, and community. For example, being headstrong is a quality that is often frowned upon in society since it makes you less governable, which means that others have less power over you. As a result, many of us are socialized as children to be passive, cooperative, and emotionless since these characteristics make us good members of a society based on control and authority. How many of us felt empowered and encouraged as teenagers to take charge of our lives and be and do anything we wanted? A fact, most people, including many teachers, give lip service to this empowerment notion, but only within the boundaries of doing socially acceptable things like going to university like others, pursuing money and status like others, and marrying and having children like others. On the one hand, we are pushed to be proactive in our lives. Nevertheless, this proactivity is a veiled type of passivity that is all about following the herd and doing what everyone else does. Is it any surprise that so many of us have feelings of being trapped? We end up following the crowd and letting others control our life unless we have the intelligence to see through society's useless and unfulfilling endeavors from an early age. Passivity is thus a primary reason for feeling imprisoned and stuck in a life that appears to be empty. When we are passive, we are essentially giving others permission to make our decisions and dictate our existence on this planet. When we are passive, we are resigned to accepting our lot in life without recognizing that we have the ability to build a life of our own design. Don't be concerned if you've recently noticed that you've chosen a passive approach to life. The majority of individuals on the earth have. It's not. Conformity is an outdated worldview that we no longer need to pursue. In fact, the more we comply, the emptier we feel on the inside. We lose touch with our own voice the more we attempt to be like others. We lose our inner values, goals, beliefs, and desires the more we shape our life to be socially acceptable. Trying to fit in with others because we are afraid of what others think of us is a prescription for misery. Understanding that desire to be accepted is entirely natural, but it's time to start seeking acceptance within yourself rather than outside of yourself. Here's the thing, spiritual awakening will only work for people who are not static. And most people are not static beings. As humans, we are always growing, evolving, and altering. As we can see in the world around us, anything that does not change disappears. When organisms, ecosystems, and even businesses and trends do not change, they go extinct. This is the process of evolution. The same is true for us as individuals. We are always growing and learning new things. At least you should give it a try. We may not be consciously aware of it, yet we are not the same person we were yesterday. Am I the same person I was a year ago? Ask yourself. Your response will most likely be no, because you've changed. And that's completely fine. Perhaps you no longer have much in common with your friends, your professional interests have shifted, or you just no longer have a strong bond with your spouse. This is all perfectly natural, but as humans, we have a tendency to pathologize change. We become extremely neurotic and scared about it because we urgently want to control life in order to feel safe and secure. However, change is unavoidable, resistance is pointless. You feel stifled when you are unwilling to update your life, even though you have long outgrown it. Imagine how awkward it would be to cram oneself into clothes from 10 or 20 years ago. Yes, you may feel some comfort, but is the comfort and familiarity you feel worth the pain of dying inside? Remember that not wanting to let go is entirely natural, so be nice and loving to yourself. It's fine to evolve and change. It is your natural right. Responsibilities are an expected part of life. They educate us to be mature, accountable, patient, and compassionate. However, there may come a time in our life when we take on more duties than we are capable of handling and we begin to feel trapped. Why? We usually fill our lives with meaningless or excessive obligations in order to escape from something. Whether it's ourselves, our past, or an emotion that haunts us, such as loss, emptiness, or hate. If you're feeling imprisoned, take a critical look at your life. Have you tried to eat more than you can chew? Why? Furthermore, what steps can you take to reduce your workload? The most common reason for many of us to experience the agonizing sensation of being confined is soul loss. When we lose touch with our spirits, we get the unshakable feeling that something is missing from our lives. Loneliness, emotional numbness, emptiness, restlessness, irritation, and, of course, anxiety and sadness accompany this experience. You might go through a dark night of the soul. It's part of everybody's spiritual awakening journey. Soul loss may occur for a variety of causes, including a tragic life event or conditions that have caused us to be absorbed by the ego. The ego is our fictitious self, the notion of me that we hold in our heads, because the ego is preoccupied with power and self-gratification. The more we satisfy it in its needs, the more empty and dissatisfied we feel. Our soul, on the other hand, is focused on love and unity, learning how to love, acting with love, speaking with love, and eventually being love. When we connect with our souls, we discover our life purpose, which allows us to break free from our circumstances. We begin to feel empowered and begin to listen to the voice of our hearts rather than the voice of our minds. Feeling imprisoned may be a self-perpetuating loop in which we seek more and more evidence to validate our perception that we are victims. For example, we may strive to quit feeling stuck, but our inner saboteur may do something that leads us to revert to that sensation. As a result, we reaffirm our notion that we are stuck, which becomes self-fulfilling. So be cautious. Understand that feeling confined may be a very seductive role because it makes us feel like victims. And the ego enjoys feeling like a victim. Feeling like a victim is really incredibly addictive since it involves blaming, rationalizing, and making excuses, all of which deflect self-responsibility. As previously said, feeling stuck might lead to us adopting the victim role, which concentrates around avoiding self-responsibility. It's natural to be sorry about your circumstances, but wallowing in self-pity will get you nowhere. To feel better, you must accept responsibility for your life, which entails resolving to effect change. Recognize that happiness is what happens when you take charge of your life. Make little adjustments every day. Every day, try something new. Approaching your life in new ways can gradually restore your trust in your own abilities. Consider what you want to alter and experiment with various techniques. Sit down and consider everything in your life that you believe is restricting you. For example, on your bullshit list, you may include items such as attending after-work parties with coworkers, obligations with old acquaintances, pretending to enjoy what my spouse loves, required luncheons with extended family members, and so on. It will be simpler to escape the cage that has been erected around your life if you become extremely clear about what is making you unhappy. Trying to be socially acceptable is a huge waste of time, energy, and money. Try to keep just what is really necessary in your life. So what if you have to step on a few toes? If you're not irritating someone, you're probably not accomplishing anything worthwhile with your life. There will always be naysayers no matter what we do. Be brave and do what makes you happy, even if it means alienating some others. Those who do not support you tend to follow you around like dead weight. One reason we remain stuck is that we are afraid of the unknown. For example, what would our life look like if we make a major change? Accept your fear and take care of yourself. Build energy barriers. Are you overcommitting yourself and becoming weighed down by too many responsibilities? Learn to be aware of your energy levels and to take a break when you feel overwhelmed. Draw a line and don't allow anybody, not even yourself, cross it. Saying no thank you is neither improper or disrespectful. Yes, you may anger a few insecure individuals, but you have the right to refuse to participate in activities that you are not interested in or believe in. Align with your soul. Plant medicine is a powerful and reliable approach to reconnect with your soul. If you prefer other approaches, you may try vision quests, journaling, spiritual meditation, mindfulness exercises, artistic self-expression, music, and other alternative kinds of medicine to help awaken this profound presence within you. Be open to receive, and I hope to see you in my future.